So here we are. Why did they go with these fluorescent colors? I haven't seen any newer ones, so I don't know if the newer ones, they updated it. But what's with there are all these different fluorescent colors. But anyway, we are on season 1, disc 1, Star Trek Voyager. Got my shirt. Property of USS Voyager. I wanted a different shirt, but this was all that was available from where I was buying. I was like, I don't know, picture the ship, sort of, kind of. Couldn't find one. So, anyways, we did the caretaker. We did Parallax. Today we're doing Time and Time Again, episode 104. And welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina Kiristina. This is where we read books, talk about books, no special effects, no D music, none of that fancy stuff going on here. And if you could please hit the like and subscribe, most appreciative. There's this other channel. They're really sophisticated. They have, they must spend oodles and oodles of, thousands upon thousands of dollars on special effects and all the different stuff they do. But they have something that I've never seen anywhere else, even on some of the more prominent channels. I've never seen this. They have another box underneath the chat box. Yes, I have hit the like button. No, but I'm gonna go do it right now. I've never seen that before. I don't know. It bothers me like that. And then there are other channels that go, please hit the like, please hit the like, please hit the like, through the whole video. Sometimes I even completely 100% forget to ask. It's not like I'm going anywhere. You have to, for monetization, and I don't think I will ever be monetized. Ever. Even if I get several thousand subscribers, which would be a dream. As of now, I average 100 watch hours a month. And I believe right now the minimum requirement is 4,000. Since I only have 1%, I'm not going anywhere fast. I have a major sinus drip today. So, let's just get on with it. So, there's no captain's overview in this. So, let's get started. There's no start date either, which is weird. January 30th, 1995. Let's time travel back 20, 30 years? God. So we start the episode off with Harry and Kim's. It's a consistent thing through the entire series. They're always doing stuff together. One or the other is trying to get the other to do something. Most of the time, it's Paris that's trying to get Kim to do something. And Paris is like, "Are you ready?" "No, I really want to get on the translator assembly diagnostic." "Harry, I can't do this alone. I'm sorry. You're making a big mistake. Can't you see what's going to happen? We're the only humans out here. People are going to start pairing off, and if we don't get to the Delaney sisters in the stellar cartography soon, someone else will. I've got a girl back home. Yeah, and by the time you get back home, she'll be married with children and probably in the grave if it's going to take 75 years for you to get back home." What did you tell them about me? Kim says. "Well, for one thing, you broke the single pilot speed record at the academy." "Record? I never broke any records." "And who are they going to check with?" Something hits Voyager, the ship starts shaking. Tuvok says we're at the leading edge of a shockwave. Cass wakes up from a dream. There's lots of back and forth, from Star Trek Next Generation. I don't do the back and forth too well. So we'll see what happens. So, Mr. Pavis, can you identify the source of the wave? I'm not sure. Scanners are picking up a debris cloud in the red dwarf system we're approaching. It's consistent of different charged polarionic icons, Captain Tuvok says. Differently charged. That would suggest a massive detonation. Are you familiar with any intelligent life forms in this system, Mr. Neelix? Familiar? Not exactly. Considerably less than familiar, actually. Janeway's like, adjust course. Let's go take a look. Aye, Captain. So then Cass comes up and let's see if I can find it now. Janeway talks to Cass, says life signs, Cass says none. But the polaritic radiation may be interfering with the scanners. Take us into orbit. Density patterns on the surface show artificial waterways and a global aqueduct system. There is a civilization down there, Captain, Chakotay says. Or there was. What do we know about surface conditions? Radiation is within acceptable levels. Atmosphere breathable. Mr. Paris, Tuvok you with me. Miss Torres, meet us in the transporter room too. And Torres is on her way. And Janeway says, Commander, you have the bridge. And they leave. So they beam down and the place is destroyed. And I hate when it's dark like this because you can't see anything. And I all these shows that do scary stuff, and scary stuff happens in the dark, and everybody on the set can see what's happened, but us watching TV can't see it. There was this one show, and it only lasted like a season or two. I don't even know if it lasted that long. It was a vampire show. I was interested in watching it, but all the stuff happened in the dark. I couldn't see. I literally could not see. When the stuff came up, it was a black screen, and you'd see maybe a shadow or something, a hand move, but that was it. So I was like, "What the F? Why am I watching this?" And I turned it off. And actually, to tell you the truth, I don't watch TV anymore. I do the DVDs, or I watch Big Brother. Power vetoes up for grabs. We're getting to the end of Big Brother 2 by now. But I like sci-fi. I like Star Trek. I miss Charmed. I miss Stargate Atlantis. I miss those shows. I think I might do Stargate after this. We'll have to see. But we've got a couple years. It's going to take a while to get through all these episodes. So, they beam down to the surface, and it's been destroyed. Torres says the entire surface of the planet was just seared. Janeway says there was a chain reaction in subspace, very likely triggered by the detonation of one or more polaritic icon devices. Paris says if that's what happened, the people here never had a chance. Torres says they were vaporized. Every organic has physically been obliterated. At least it happened quickly. Polaritic detonation would have swept through the city in seconds. Tuvok says it recalls the Chal-Tuk 4 incident. Chal-Tuk. A Romulan research colony was nearly destroyed during the testing of one of these devices. It led to the Boloric Test Ban Treaty of 2268. So we're looking at the end of the war. I wonder who won, Paris says. I'm not sure there was a war. Look at these readings, B'Elanna. Polaritic iconic concentrations are so high I can't get an accurate reading. I'd say these conduits were the source of the explosion, wouldn't you? Our civilization polarized by polaritic energy? That's what it looks like. A time bomb underneath every street running into every home. And then they find Kess and she's crying. She's crying for everybody that died. So then Neelix comes over. What do you mean you saw it? How could you see it? I don't know. What did you see? I saw them burn, their bodies ashes where they stood. You felt the shockwave in your sleeve, in your imagination? A strange coincidence. I don't think so. What else could be? It was almost telepathic. Telepathy is a message, words, a voice, which you're describing why it's almost like visions of the Draken forest dwellers. Who? A tribe with paranormal abilities. They can walk into an empty room. Neelix, my ancestors were said to have unusual mental abilities. No one believed those stories. I always have, Kess says. Now, Tom stumbles upon a key element here. Look, this may be some kind of timepiece, stopped at the moment of explosion. He hit sunlight and children's voices, and then it's gone. What was that? What? Didn't you hear that? Hear what, Lieutenant? Kids playing. They were as close to me as Paris gets transported, sees sunshine again, children playing, men and women going about their business. He's in front of a clock shop. A hand touches his shoulder, and he's back in the dark room again. It was Janeway. I don't understand. I was here in a square, but there were people. You never left, Tom. I saw them. Lots of people, children playing, and the sun was shining. There was no evidence of an explosion. Everyone was happy and alive. Janeway says, you were standing here the whole time. Your central nervous system is showing a temporal flux, but it's rapidly returning to normal. The chain reaction has shattered subspace, Captain. I want everyone to stand exactly where they are. If Tuvik's right, there may be subspace fractures floating like icebergs across the planet's surface. Away team to Voyager, beam up. And Janeway ends up in the sunlight with Paris. So, her and Tom end up in the other time zone. A boy says, they appeared out of nowhere. They're some kind of demons. I saw them with my own eyes. Jane was like, I'm sorry we started them. We just came around the corner. They're lying, the kid says. The guard says, shush, calm down now. You've been reading too many of those Dark Storm novels, young fellow. There's no such thing as demons. But I'm telling you, the kid says. Run along now. Kid causes a lot of problems. Sorry about that. No problem, Paris says. Who knows what gets into their heads, huh? Perhaps the uniforms scared them. We're not from this area. Come on the Continental Transport this morning. That's what they're wearing in Kalto Province these days? This is a little more formal than most. You know how it is when you travel. We're actually looking for a clothing shop. We thought we'd change into something more appropriate. There's one right over there. I hope the rest of your stay is more enjoyable. And the guard leaves. And I want to know what they use for currency in these situations. So they go over to the clock shop and the timepiece is there. Maybe you could, what do these numbers stand for? Rotations, intervals, fractions, same as any timepiece. 14 kilometers. Fair price. I might step back later if there's time. If I understood correctly, Paris says, this world will be destroyed tomorrow at some time. They've got 24 hours to figure stuff out, but stuff happens. So Kim is explaining what's going on there. He's telling the room, this is one of the subspace fractures we've located with a magaton scan of the surface. This is the time of the explosion where the fracture opens. Then, as shock waves dissipate, the fracture grows more narrow. We believe that the captain and Paris are trapped at the narrow end. Torres says shockwaves from explosions dissipate into the future, but we're speculating based on what Paris told us he saw. This that this dissipates into the past. That's consistent with the subspace damage we've observed. Why haven't we been able to return as Mr. Paris did the first time? He wasn't all the way inside a fracture, remember? We still saw Paris standing there even when he was on the other side. So it's possible that the captain and Paris are existing only hours and minutes before the explosion occurs, Chakotay says. There's no way for us to measure exactly how far these fractures go. How do we find them? Tuvek says, if I know Captain Janeway, she'll activate a subspace beacon to assist us. We're counting on it, Kim says. First, we have to find a fracture in a location where they've been. Then we have to microscan the fracture to pick up the signal from their subspace beacon. Once we've identified where and when they are, then we have to widen the fracture at that point. How do you suggest we do that, Tuvek says. Kim says, we're not sure yet. So then we're in sick bay with Kes and Neelix, and the doctor is fussing because Tess's medical records are not on file with the Federation. She's a brand new species to the Federation, and that's why her information is not in any system. So the doctor is puzzled. And he's like, and no one asked for your medical histories when you arrived? Of course not. That would be the ship's doctor. My job. If anyone bothered to tell me about new passengers, I would have seen to be just about the last to know about everything around here. So tell me, how many other new arrivals are there? Just us. And the crew from another ship that was destroyed. Another crew, that's nice. This is the emergency medical holograph system to Captain Janeway. She's not on board, Neelix says. She's missing on the surface planet. Missing. The captain is missing. It seems I found myself on the voyage of the damned. Very well. Please advise the highest ranking officer who is not missing to see me at his earliest convenience. You may shut off the program now. But you haven't told us anything about her condition. She's the healthiest member of her species I've ever seen. That's what he says. So they've traded in their clothing for native clothing, which I don't think was too far from their clothing anyway. We can assume that Voyager will be looking for a way to reach us. I set my comm badge to emit a subspace beacon. If they get close, maybe they'll pick us up. Maybe there's some way that... Don't even think about it, Tom. The Prime Directive is clear. We cannot allow our presence to alter this planet's natural course of events. Even if the natural course of events is annihilation? Yeah. My father used to talk at length to us about the Prime Directive once a year like a holiday sermon. He considered it the guiding principle of space exploration. To be honest, I tuned out most of his sermons years ago. Well, tune back into this one, because I agree with him. You have no idea what the consequences might be once you involve yourself. The consequences would have to be better than mass destruction. You're not to warn these people, that's an order. And that boy comes up and is staring at them again. I know you're lying, he says. Young man, we're here on a business trip and we have a lot of work to do. The officer told me you came here on the Continental Transport. That's right, from Kalto Province. Yeah, well, I just talked to the transport attendant. He told me 4 people came from Kalto today. 2 of them were a lot older than you, and they had a child with them. Well, the attendant was wrong. That was us. So where's the child? We ate him, because we're demons and we eat children and haven't had any supper yet. And the boy runs off. Sorry, I figured it was just the quickest way. Let's concentrate on getting out of here. And they're examining the area. Paris says the same subspace fractures that brought us here might still be around if they were caused by a polaritic explosion. Is there any way we could use the polaritic energy to get us back? If we had access to a polyionic generator, we could modify a tricorder to emit a polyionic field. At least it might help us scan for a fracture. I wonder where these conduits get their power. And they head to the power plant. There's a little bit of a riot going on here, and that little kid is watching Janeway and Paris as they go to this thing. This guy helps rescue them, and I feel like I know him someplace. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but he rescues them. So then we're back on Voyager. Um, This device uses the same polyatic energy that destroyed the planet. At intense levels, it can open a subspace fracture, wide enough for the captain and Paris to get through. If we locate them, this is the capable of bringing them back. The logical place to begin with would be at the same location they disappeared. The beams disappears. Only problem is the necessary intensity. The polaric generator will burn out itself after 30 seconds at best. Can't we reinitialize the generator and start again? Chakotay says. Not at the same location, Taurus says. Once we make any attempt, any given location, the damage to subspace will take a second attempt impossible. How do we make one of us get trapped in a fracture? Chakotay says. We've modified our tricorders to detect the fractures, and all of us were wearing one of these. She points to this armband. It puts out an antipolaric field. It should repel the fractures when they get these within 3 meters. Nice work, Chakotay says. And then we go back to the planet. So they're tending Janeway's wound. She has a scratch on her head. So then Macau, we're sorry to involve you in this. Apparently, you just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. I was just thinking the very same thing. What are we doing here? We're from the Kalto province. We were hoping to tour your power facility. Came to compare it to our own. I've never seen a Kalton with your color hair. Well, now you have. My friend thinks she was sent by the government to infiltrate us. Infiltrate. You were there when she got this. Perhaps you were told to put on a good show for us. We don't even know why someone would want to infiltrate you. That's hard to believe, even in Calto, these protests against polaric energy. We're not spies. When was the last time you were in a power plant? Not since we left home. We weren't in that plant. You weren't in the plant yesterday? We were just getting there when we stumbled into you. We know you're not telling the truth. We have safety monitors to measure polaric energy. When you were brought here, they registered 5 times the normal readings. To register this high, you were inside the plant yesterday or at the site of the polaric disaster, worse than any in history of this planet. So, some of their stuff is telling them the truth. Now, if Paris and Janeway could explain that, yeah, we're from the future, but they won't do that either. So, Chakotay, Kes, and Kim go back down to the planet, and Kim gets he's picking up Janeway's signal in the room. It's hard to get a good group shot, but Paris and Janeway are being held at phaser point or gun point or whatever you want to call it. So what's your name? Janeway. Unusual name. Not from where I'm from. What part of Kalto province was this again? I don't see any point in this. There is a point, a very important one. It has to do with our schedule and whether we can keep it or not. Can we? I don't know. Do you know how? Do they know our plan? I have no idea. And the boy is coming in, and the boy that ratted them out the first time. So then they're in this room and they find 2 melted comm badges. So then we're back in the room and their stuff is on the table here. And he says, none of us have seen devices like this before. Taro believes they're spy equipment. They're for surveying property. I've been thinking of buying land here. I need to survey it. I'd be curious to know how they work. Would you show me? But then one of them might be a weapon, and I wouldn't want you to show me that, would I? And then they brought the kid in. And the Paris and the kid have a conversation. And he's telling the kid he doesn't need children. And the kid says, "You don't scare me." And he's writing a report from my school journal. That's where everyone's going to find out when I write about it in next week's edition. What's your name? Laka. Laka, I'm sorry. I realize how this must appear to you, but I'm just a patriot. A patriot. I sincerely believe polaric energy has the potential to destroy this entire planet, and I make it very few people here agree with you. We have more support since the accident at Marco. We know the companies are afraid of us. We know they've increased security at all their plants, but it will not be enough to stop us. We can't wait another week. We're going to move up the schedule, and they're going to move it up to tomorrow, and that's the time of this explosion. And then they're back in the other space, and Kes feels Janeway. And then Janeway feels Kes too. So Kes says Janeway, Kes says Captain, Captain says Kes, and then we go back to the other place. So Kes goes, so Janeway goes, "You want the truth? Here's the truth. You want it? All right, here's the truth. We're from the future, exactly one day in the future. You mean I was right? You weren't allowed to tell. At least I thought we weren't. In a few hours from now, there'll be a serious accident on this world. It will be caused by a polarized detonation. We came here in an interstellar ship to investigate the explosion. When we arrived, we were exposed to polarized radiation." So in the other place, they're setting up the beam. And then Chakotay tries to contact Janeway, and everybody in the room hears this brief 1 or 2 word exchange. So then Paris is talking to her. "I don't get it, Captain. This morning you were giving orders about not interfering because of the Prime Directive. Now you're telling them everything. I told them the truth when I realized we'd already violated the Prime Directive in the worst possible manner. How did we do that? Just by being here. Because if we hadn't been here, it's very possible this world would not have been destroyed. What? Think about it, Tom. Before we got involved, these people were planning to commit some kind of sabotage next week. We're the ones who forced the change in their schedule. Because of us, they decided to begin today at 400 rotations. And we know that the detonation takes place today at 400:01. 401-22-84. Wait a minute. You're saying we're responsible for the explosion even though it occurred before our ship arrived here? We've traveled back to a point in time before the explosion, so yes, we can be responsible for it. Let's say we never came and our plans didn't change. Wouldn't the accident simply have occurred next week instead of today? Who knows what might have happened between now and then? They could have been arrested before they had a chance to carry it out. The conditions at the plant might not have been the same next week. But it's our problem now, Tom. We have to find a way to solve it." Kim is like, "We're running out of time. The subspace fractures are closing. We've lost over 70% of them. At this point, we're suggesting we concentrate our search at the flashpoint," Taurus says. "What may I ask you to expect accomplished by doing that? We figure the captain of Paris might have looked for the origins of the explosion to try and prevent it. Unlikely. It would be a highly questionable decision in the light of the Prime Directive. If it were me, I would have tried to get there," Chakotay says. "The issue is whether the captain would go there, not you, Commander. You think you can locate the flashpoint?" Taurus says, "We already have." Chakotay says, "Let's go." So then they're making plans. Distract the guard. We're going to sneak in type situation. So then the guys are working on something here. Don't know what. Janeway comes in, is watching. The team is in the same corridor in the future. So they're still working on setting up the device. And Janeway's going to try and stop them. She's going to come and tell them that they only have if they do it, the life will end on this planet in 3 minutes. They have a back and forth thing, and they end up calling well, not a truce, but a standoff. And Janeway says, "Just let's wait 3 minutes and see what happens." And the team is on the other side setting up their beam. They're negotiating for the bag. The team is setting up the pulse beam thingy. They're waiting for the clock to run out. They get the pulsar going. Janeway realizes that Voyager is the cause of the explosion and fires on it, closing the hole, thereby changing history. Because at the first minute you're thinking Janeway needs to go through. Why isn't she going through? But when she closes the hole with her phaser, why is lighting gone so bad all of a sudden? I have no idea why my lighting has gone so bad. She closes the hole, thereby changing time, and they end up back on the ship. They've got the hole open. Janeway's firing at the hole, thereby erasing the last 24 hours. And there's Paris talking to Kim again. And the Delaney sisters. And Kes wakes up and she thought she had a bad dream. So they have a repeat of the conversation they had in the beginning about M-class planets, and Neelix saying, well, I know some, well, not so much. And then Kes comes in and says, I had to know. Know what? The planet. Everyone was killed. There was a terrible explosion. You had a bad dream. No, it was more than a dream. Mr. Tuvok, any indication of trouble on that M-class planet? Negative, Captain. Is it populated? Sensors do show humanoid life. There is no satellite system, no indication of spacecraft in the vicinity. It appears to be a pre-warp civilization, which means as a policy we don't involve ourselves in their affairs. Of course, a most enlightened philosophy. Come on, Kes. I'm sorry, Captain. Can we see the planet on the screen? They show it on the screen. Everything's okay. And that ends the episode. And there we have it. Time and time again. So we got to get out the, what I do with it? The old disc here and put in disc 2. Can you believe it? We're to season 1, disc 2 already? Please join me next week for the recap of your favorite Voyager episodes. Have a good one.